Hello, welcome to the Joe Cortez Show here in Las Vegas, Nevada, the entertainment capital of the world. Today we have a special guest with us, somebody that is needed because there's so much help needed out there with the young folks, especially the young ladies. The location is in Henderson, Nevada, and we have Kathleen Miller, who's the executive director. She's the owner, director of the Living Grace Homes. It's a facility is to do with youngsters. Keith, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks,
Can you
Joe.
tell us a little bit about your facility. Now we have so much problem these days with these young ladies that become homeless, become pregnant, whatnot. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing with your foundation?
Sure. So Living Grace opened our first home in 2007, and at the time that we opened, Clark County had the highest teen pregnancy rate in the country.
Wow.
And so we also, as many people know, have a serious problem with homelessness, especially among our youth, sometimes referred to as runaway or throwaway youth. They either run away from home or somebody has put them out or left with no forwarding address.
Right.
And so when a young woman is pregnant and either already homeless or when she makes the decision to carry that pregnancy to term, whoever she lives with says you can't be pregnant and live here. It's not much of a choice for a young woman to have to make between the roof over her head and the life of her baby. Mm-hmm. And so Living Grace Home opened to give her that safe haven from life's storms. Being on the streets is a tough gig, no matter what your age or circumstances, but to be 14, 15, 16 and pregnant and not know where you're going to lay your head tonight is pretty scary.
It has got to be pretty scary, of course. Now, these young girls, most of them are right from Nevada or they come from other states?
Most of them are from Nevada. Most of them were born and raised here, but we have housed over 750 young ladies in the last 16 and a half years. And so we have housed them from probably at least 10 different states, primarily, of course, California, right, closest proximity. But we've also had young ladies from the Virgin Islands. We've had young ladies from Africa. We've had young ladies from Lithuania. So it is a Nevada problem. But really they oftentimes come here thinking that this is going to be the solution. Right. Just like with any other area, we have people in all walks of life that think that they're going to come and
they come to Las Vegas.
Yeah,
they're going to make
it's kind
of
like Hollywood. They're gonna be overnight stars and
it's not that way.
Doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Now, how many a year do you have young girls who you have the service for?
So each year we serve between 50 and 70 young moms and their families. So as I said, in 16 and a half years, we've served just over 750 young ladies and their families. But we've also either sheltered or helped provide services to an additional 150 plus siblings. Wow. So mom comes to Living Grace pregnant, but she already has a child. And so we help take care of those young moms that already have a child as well.
You get them to get a better education, a trade, and maybe get them for homes they want not to live?
So we have 5 areas that we focus on.
Right.
And really, if we can help get them through those 5 areas, then it sets them up to move them from dependency to empowerment, moving them into the space where they can have that job, they can pay for their own roof over their head, etc. So the 5 areas that we focus on are legal. If they have outstanding wants and warrants, they're spending most of their time kind of looking over their shoulder to make sure somebody's not knocking on the door to come arrest them. Right. So we help them deal with those wants and warrants, whether it's community service they have to do or something else in order, classes that they may need to take in order to satisfy the courts. But we want them to be able to deal with those issues. As I'm sure you know, working with the community as long as you have, legal issues don't go away if you ignore them.
Right.
So the next one is medical. And Oftentimes when we say medical, people think, oh, they make sure they get to the OBGYN, and we do. However, we also help make sure that they get to the dentist, get eyeglasses if they need them. And mental health care is a big part of it. So we help them deal with the traumas that they've lived with so that they don't pass them on. So legal, medical, benefits, WIC and welfare, education, and then employment. And if we can help with those 5 areas, then it really kind of sets them up to make that cognitive shift into empowerment. Hey, I can do this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, what happens to the young folks that are involved with drugs and alcohol?
We have been very fortunate to be able to collaborate and work with other nonprofits within the community to help them get assistance if they have a substance abuse problem.
Right.
And really because of the population we serve, which is 14 to 24, homeless, pregnant, that there's overlap with sex trafficking, with domestic violence, and with substance abuse.
Sure.
And so we really collaborate with those organizations where that's their focus. We can't be everything to everyone, so we want to bring in those people that are experts in substance abuse. So we'll work with WestCare, we'll work with different recovery programs to help them move from that substance abuse and that addiction into recovery.
Now, you have a website, and your website, you have a lot of information, and that is the Living Grace
Homes.org.
livinggracehomes.org.
.org.
And there's a website there on your screen there. You can see that you get more information in reference to how to get help out there if needed. Now, a lot of these young folks, I'm sure they're not watching the program right now, but you adults that are watching, your family members or friends, I know these young folks, reach out to the website, livinggracehomes.org, get more information. And you can
on the website, there's a place for if you need help. There's a link to go to that will get an email, and somebody will respond to that within 24 hours. If you want to become a donor to help support the organization, because we're a 501c3,
right.
There's a place for donors. If you want to come volunteer. And
so for jobs and volunteer.
Jobs and volunteer, yep.
Right. I'm so proud of what you're doing. How do you come up with this idea, Mrs. Miller? 16 years ago.
It really started more than 20 years ago. It took about 5 years of research and trying to find out what it would take in order to open such a home. And I always just say God.
You're like a little guardian angel.
It was a God thing. I was working in a related field, and as I was speaking about what I was doing, people would come up and say, but what we really need here is a home for pregnant moms. And as I said, I actually had a radio program on KKVV at the time, and so we were number 1 in teen pregnancy for a number of years. And it was said we were number 1 in all the wrong things in Las Vegas. And so we're no longer number 1 in teen pregnancy. It has gone down. We're like number 11.
Who's number 1 right now anyway?
I'm sorry?
Who's number 1 right now?
I should have the answer to that, but I do not.
Okay, but it's not Nevada no more.
It is not. It's not Clark County any longer. And that is not just because of Living Grace Home. It's a result of a number of other nonprofit
programs
and charitable organizations that have worked to. The Clark County Parenting Project has been a big help with families helping to navigate how to teach their children different behavior. The biggest number that has struck me in the years I've been doing this is out of a little over 750 young moms that have come to Living Grace Home, only 22 have come from a home where mom and dad were married to each other.
Wow.
The rest have come from either never married or divorced homes. And so single moms that are struggling with trying to keep the roof over their kids' heads, maybe working a couple of jobs, leaves a lot of unsupervised time for teenagers.
So how can we educate the individual, the adults out there to prevent this from happening? I mean, what kind of programs are out there?
Get married and stay married. truly, marriage has taken a hit over the last 50 years,
Yes.
And it is a huge factor in poverty. There's really three things that will give you about a 92% chance of not living in poverty long term, and that is finish high school, get a job, and get married before you have kids. And you don't have to have 6 college diplomas,
Right.
or anything like that. Just finishing high school. The difference between finishing high school and not finishing high school is more than $1 million in lifetime earnings.
Sure.
And 70% of the young moms that come to Living Grace Home have not finished high school by the time they come there. So they're not getting pregnant in high school.
Right.
They're leaving high school, having all that unsupervised time,
Right.
and that's when they're getting pregnant.
Yeah, and that's what's happening a lot these days. Especially, I mean, you get it's so much going on social media. There's you see, on social media, there's lots of these young kids that all they do on these computers. Then you get all these these individuals out there, that these pedophiles out there, that are just reaching out to these young ladies and young men as well. They get out there and they brainwash these kids to believing all these things that they're saying. So they come out to Vegas or come here and meet me here. They get them involved with drugs or alcohol, or they get
Yes.
pregnant, and that's what all this comes about, I guess.
Yes, and that drug, you're right, Joe, that drug factor by predators is a factor in young moms that end up being trafficked, becoming pregnant, and then if they don't agree to terminating that pregnancy, then they're kind of shoved off onto the street by themselves because they're no longer productive for that predator.
Now, I would imagine that these young ladies that become pregnant, they're into drugs or whatnot, and I mean, these kids are born now. There got to be a lot of issues,
So it's
a lot
really
of health
not,
issues.
It's not, we haven't had a lot of that. In fact, we have been, we're actually a very good example on the national scale, because out of the 740 plus babies that have born at Living Grace, first of all, we've only had 3 miscarriages out of those.
Wow.
Which is something like 0.8%, 0.08%, and the national average for miscarriages is 20 to 25% of pregnancies end in a miscarriage in the first trimester.
Wow.
And so our numbers are significantly better. We've only had 8 babies that have spent a week or more in the neonatal intensive care unit. Again, that is 10 to 15% of babies that are born in this country spend 7 days to 2 weeks in the neonatal intensive care unit. So we haven't had a lot of babies that have been born drug addicted or drug offended, drug dependent. And part of that is moms come any time in their pregnancy. So if they have a drug issue, but they come to Living Grace when they are 2 months pregnant, they've got 7 months of that pregnancy to be clean and sober, to be in a recovery program, to be getting good nutrition, to be getting good medical care, to be in therapy to help resolve their addiction issues. And so as a result of that, most of the babies that have spent time in NICU did so because moms didn't come to Living Grace until they were already in crisis.
Right. Now tell me a little bit about the success side of these young ladies. Who has really come out and become somebody special in life after what they've gone through? They've gone through hell, back and forth, or whatever, and now they become somebody special in life. You tell us some of these success stories.
So we don't have any that have become a Joe Cortez. We don't. But we do have, I have a young lady that, this is September next month, she'll be getting her MBA from WGU, Western Governors University.
That's what I want to hear.
Yes. And so this young lady, I think her story might even be on the website, but she was at Living Grace 10 years ago, and she was literally in line to try and get into the shade tree, and a friend of the family called Living Grace and said, hey, do you have a bed available? And we did. And so this friend of the family picked her up from the line at the Shade Tree Shelter and brought her to Living Grace. And she had she already had one child that turned 2 shortly after she came to Living Grace. And so she and her mom were in a very conflicted relationship because mom was upset with her for being pregnant again. Oh. And mom lived in a 55-plus community, so the grandson could stay with grandma, but she couldn't stay there. Oh, wow. And so she was pregnant and in line and this was in January, so it was nippy out.
I think that the HOA got to get a little spanking because they have to really understand this is a daughter of a situation, even though it's 55 and over living facilities, but they got to make some exceptions there.
Yeah, so to put this young lady out on the street, but over the course of the next year, I actually, it's my only opportunity out of all the babies. I cut the umbilical cord. I was in the operating room with her when the baby was born.
That's so kind of you.
Mom and she were, like I said, still in conflict. Shortly thereafter, she married the father, and she has now 4 little boys. Actually, not so little anymore. The oldest one is 12 this year. But over the course, she married the father, and she was able to resolve the conflicts with her mother. And I recently got a note from her saying, that a lot of this was attributed to the help and support that she got at Living Grace Home. And young ladies like her do stay in touch with us. So I still have contact with the second young lady that came to Living Grace in 2007.
If any of them try to come back, maybe an idea of them coming back and becoming an inspirational individual to these, they'd be like, put some volunteer work or maybe work at your location to help out other individuals to listen to them, say, I went through this, I made it, this is what I did to make it out.
So we actually have an alumni representative on our board of directors, and I also have a current staff member that was a former resident that was at Living Grace in 2015.
Okay.
She came at the end of November, and she was expecting twins. Wow. That were due at the end of January, and she'd had very little prenatal care. So we got her into our OBGYN, and like twins often do, they did not come at the end of January. They came December 11th, and so the twins are going to be 8 in December.
Wow.
And so this young lady works for us, and she's also part of her task right now is she's putting together an alumni board. And so she will be contacting former residents to come back and do just that. Talk to the current residents,
how old
share
is she?
their stories. She just turned 30.
30. I'd like to get her on the show one day to talk about how she succeeded, how she made it. She could be an inspirational speaker to individuals out there.
Either one of them, either Jennifer, the young ladies that's getting her MBA, or Georgina would do a good job of sharing their stories.
I'm sure that probably somebody say, I want to name my baby Kathleen, just like you. Name me like
no, but actually one of the twins' name is Grace.
Grace.
Yeah.
Oh, so. Great. Like the Living Grace, yeah, sure.
Yep.
Beautiful. That's great. I'll tell you, I'm very proud of what you're doing. And when I met you a couple of months ago, you gave me your card, and it kind of touched me to say, you're doing something very special. There's not many people out there like you. There should be more people like Mrs. Miller, who's doing so much in the community, reaching out to these kids. There's so much needed out there because some unfortunately, these young ladies out there are going through a difficult time. Sometimes it's not their fault because they're too young and immature. They don't know any better. But sometimes we need somebody like Mrs. Miller, who's like a guardian angel, who's come up with this fantastic project, Living Grace Homes. And it's something that I think not only here in Nevada, but all over the country, maybe all over the world. You should listen to this program, listen to Mrs. Miller, what you've been doing. It's amazing.
So nationwide, there's about 400 plus maternity housing programs, and some of them focus on the teenagers like we do, but some of them because of their state laws and their requirements, they only take young women that are 18 and up. What we found in the last few years, probably going back to about 2017, is we're getting more and more calls from women that are over our current age range of 24. And so our next step, our next program is going to be we're calling it the Safe and Sound campaign, and it is to open a third home for those moms that are over our current age range. Because in Clark County, if you don't have any other children and you're pregnant, you're still considered a single homeless person.
Wow.
And so that category in the homeless queue is anywhere between 3,500 and 4,000 people on any given day. So that pregnant mom is just thrown into that number, and it's the lowest category of the 5 categories for homeless in Clark County. And so that means that they're not getting the prenatal care. They're probably not getting the nutrition they need. They're probably eating 1 meal a day at Salvation Army or Catholic Charities.
Is our government doing anything, our governor doing anything about this kind of program?
Our governor,
Are they pitching in?
our governor is working on the homeless program. This last legislative session.
We're talking about Governor Lombardo.
Yes.
Yeah.
He has, as I'm sure you know, he has a great team
Yes.
that are working on it. I've met with some of his local outreach staff in terms of finding solutions. The homeless problem in Clark County is, like it is in many places, is serious. My personal opinion is that if we spent as much money on making sure that there was really good mental health care, including beds that where people could actually be committed
Right.
and for their own good, we would reduce the homeless issue significantly.
Sure.
And we're throwing money at the homelessness without dealing with the root cause.
I know when Governor Lombardo was campaigning for governor, that's one of the questions I asked him at one of the fundraisers about what is he going to be doing with the homeless, and he's doing a lot. He said he was going to be working on it.
Yeah, I'm sure you've met Tom Burns that is responsible for working
Program.
on the low-income housing to
Yes.
increase the amount to move people off the streets and into housing. But like I said, if we don't deal with that mental health and that substance abuse component of
Right.
homelessness, then we're just kicking the can down the road.
Exactly. There's a lot of that going on all over the country right now.
Yes, for the same reasons.
I mean, it's a shame to see what's going on right now. I mean, this is not a show about politics, but I don't like to see all these homeless people on the street. They come into our country now. Some of them all over the major cities around the country. I hate to see that because it's just so sad to see so many homeless out there. And you get the young kids and out there, young boys and young ladies. I mean, it's sad to see that. And
Yes.
I'm sure that our governor here, Lombardo, is doing a great job in trying to help out with this program. I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing because it's not every day we find somebody like Mrs. Miller.
Well,
I understand
thank you.
your husband is part of your group as well.
No, my husband passed away.
Oh, he did.
My husband,
Okay,
my
I'm
husband
sorry.
passed away
I'm sorry to hear that.
in 2021. However, when we opened Living Grace in 2007,
He was involved with you.
he was very involved in
Yes.
helping my move to build Living Grace Home.
Okay, that's what I understood. He was part of the organization when
yes.
they first started.
Yes, he was very much. I would say he was my biggest cheerleader
Yeah.
and biggest supporter here, and now he's just cheerleading to a more influential audience.
Sure.
So-
Now, your viewers out there, you see what Mrs. Miller is doing, and you guys got to really reach out. I mean, if this program doesn't touch your heart, something is wrong with you, because you have to really listen to what Mrs. Miller is doing and helping out in our community, our young ladies out there, young moms that need all this help. Anything you guys can do, you go to our website again. We see our website. It's livinggracehome.org, and you can see about what Mrs. Miller is doing and how staff. You have a nice board of members. I see you have a.
We do
nice,
have a really good group right now, but we also have 2 openings on our board of directors. So we have need for 2 more people. But But also, if you want to learn more about Living Grace, the phone number was just up on the screen. It's 702-212-6472. And we have volunteer orientation once a month. We have one coming up next Thursday, September 21st, for people that are interested in learning more about volunteering. And there's many ways to volunteer, including helping with the fundraising to keep the doors open and the lights on. And but if you want, if you're interested in learning more, one of my favorite parts of my job is giving tours of Living Grace Home. And so if you're interested in taking a tour, bringing a group of people to take a tour, just pick up the phone and give me a call, or go to the website where it has a link to go to and say, hey, I'm interested in finding out more information about Living Grace Homes. I'm interested in volunteering. I'm interested in becoming a donor. I'm interested in becoming a board member because the community, one of the things that I'm probably proudest of, and I don't use pride a lot, but we are really collaborative. We work with Help of Southern Nevada, Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth, the domestic violence shelters, Safe House in Henderson is a good resource for us and we for them, because they're not really designed to help women that are pregnant. And so while they're the initial stop when a woman leaves a domestic violence situation, once they help her get stabilized, but she's pregnant, if they know that it's safe to refer her to us, that she's not going to reach back out to her abuser, which unfortunately is all too common, then they will refer her to us. But if we have somebody that is actively being abused, we're going to send her there until the police help resolve that situation.
Well, so this happens. This is pretty common, really.
Yeah.
And not only in Nevada, all over the country.
All over, yeah.
Yeah. So this is what you do with this program is something that is something is needed in our listeners out there, and you have. Like she says, we need all the volunteers we can get, all the any sponsors, any donations would be greatly appreciated to the Living Grace Homes. It's something that's needed so much. It really is an honor to have you on the show today. When I met you, you kind of touched my heart. When you gave me that
thank
card,
you.
I saw that card you told me what you were doing. Your car was so touching, just looking at that beautiful car, Living Grace Homes. He had a little pregnant lady
Yes,
here.
yes.
And I saw it, I said, wait a minute, you're somebody special.
Oh,
I got to
thank
get you
you.
on my show. I'm
Thank
glad
you
you were
so
able
much.
to
I
make it
appreciate
today.
it.
Keep on doing what you're doing. And you viewers out there, please help out, reach out, look at the website again, livinggracehomes.org, to get more information, and reach out to Mrs. Miller and her members to get her program going to another level, making it better and be more successful than what it is. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank
Ms.
you
Miller,
so much.
God bless you always.
Thank you
and,
very much.
You viewers out there, please reach out to Mrs. Miller and her group at the Living Grace Homes. Thank you so much. See you guys next week.
Thank you.